Marcos Ramos.
Murphy's Law states anything that can go wrong will go wrong. If Murphy were right, I should have tripped walking up to the stage, stuttered through my first sentence, and had my pants fall down. So far, 2 for 3. I think I'm doing okay. For most of my life, I believed Murphy's Law to be true. The worst case scenario wasn't just a possibility, it was inevitable. If something could go wrong, no matter how much I prepared, I assumed it would. As a result, I let that fear dictate how I moved through the world. So I studied just to avoid failing instead of actually learning. I played lacrosse solely not to lose. I walked through life on eggshells, convinced that one wrong move would send everything crashing down. Worry became my default, my nerves a constant and annoying companion. I even avoided going to movie theaters, not because I didn't like movies, but because I was utterly terrified of the trailers. I never knew what might flash on screen. An intense horror ad, a sudden jump scare, and that uncertainty was enough to send my heart racing. I'd sit there with my ears plugged and eyes half covered, more focused on surviving the previews than actually enjoying the film to come. That anxiety crept into everything. I'd walk into a classroom and count how many people were there before deciding if I'd speak. I'd rehearse a question 10 times in my head before raising my hand, convinced one wrong word would make me sound ridiculous. I even turned down plans with friends if I didn't know exactly who would be there or what we'd be doing. Everything had to feel controlled, predictable, safe, because anything else was unknown, and that unknown was terrifying. I shrank my world to avoid discomfort. The problem is, though, in a family like mine, where filters don't exist, staying guarded isn't really an option. In my house, everything gets said, no matter how vulgar, inappropriate, random, or borderline insane it may be. And the really bad stuff, well, we just say it in Spanish. But here's the thing. Being surrounded by people who push you, challenge you, and force you to step outside your comfort zone changes you. It compels you to take risks and dream bigger than you thought possible. And yes, that sometimes means being told you're not good enough. It means facing doubt, criticism, and setbacks. But it also means realizing that success often belongs to those who take the leap. That sometimes it's okay to be lucky rather than good. Through this journey, I've learned that growth isn't always comfortable, but it is necessary. That the people who push you the hardest are the ones who believe in you the most. What Murphy's Law fails to mention or acknowledge is that the best things in life are often hidden behind fear. More importantly, what we can do is often hindered not by actual barriers, but what we think we can do. The biggest limitations in life are often the ones we place on ourselves. In the same way that tiredness is a lack of energy, not a lack of ability, our doubts are often just that. Doubts, not truths. If we convince ourselves that failure is inevitable, then we act as if it is. But if we push ourselves, cheer for ourselves, and give ourselves the affirmations we need, we move beyond fear and into possibility. I've thrown up from nerves before 90% of my lacrosse games. I've sweated through countless tests, felt my temples burn, and my throat go dry before anything important. The butterflies in my stomach, they're still always there and a constant companion. But every time I stepped onto the field with shaky hands and a racing heart, I walked off knowing I'd given it everything. Every test where my nerves made me second-guess myself only proved how much I cared. Now, whether it was letting in too many goals or absolutely bombing a test, I've definitely lived through the worst-case scenarios and learned to keep going. Over time, I've realized that fear isn't a signal to retreat. It's a sign that something meaningful lies ahead. The moments that scared me the most, stepping outside my comfort zone, performing in front of an audience, or even just walking into a movie theater, were the ones that shaped me. In fact, scientifically, the same part of our brain fires when we're nervous as when we're excited. The only difference is how we choose to see it. We all fall into the trap of playing life too safe. We convince ourselves that avoiding mistakes, discomfort, and risk will keep us secure. But security isn't the goal. Thriving is. Eudaimonia, the highest form of fulfillment, and a Mrs. Reagan-Loomis' favorite vocab word, comes from stepping beyond our fears, knowing that while we might fall, we also might fly. It's easy to expect the worst, to assume everything will go wrong. But what if, as we go through our lives, we ask ourselves, what if everything turns out better than I ever imagined? So I'm choosing to live by Marcos's Law instead of Murphy's Law now. If something makes me nervous and sparks something in me, I'll dive into it head first, because that's a sign that I'm onto something big. Thank you.